Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble while following us on Facebook, or find us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcast can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for past episodes, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe or follow today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good day, everybody, wherever you might be on the spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's weekly podcast series of Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Mekas. This is your first time. Please click subscribe, like, share, comment, and also don't forget to follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. Today, Spirit Guide Encounters. He guides individuals in discovering their authentic healing expression through sound and structured practices. Their work blends deep intuition with a focus on the primordial brain, fostering emotional clarity, creativity, and alignment. Ideal for those ready to dive into transformative growth. Their approach invites a connection of true self-expression and lasting change. Let's welcome back to the seance again, Bjorn Lestrue. Welcome back, brother. Hasn't been very long, has it? At least it doesn't feel like it.
Time's flying by, though.
So a lot of people are starting to. I mean, I get questions from a lot of people out there that, man, I need to connect with my spirit guides, or I need to connect with the archangels, and I need to connect with, the divine side, the etheric side, the spiritual side. And when it comes to spirit guides, tell us about your spirit guides and how they work with you, and
Sure.
you work with them.
So how I explain the way it's organized, I have a primary guide, and then there are many others, like you could say, part of my team.
Mm-hmm.
The primary guide is a blue dragon, named itself Smudgupper.
Nice.
And well, I mean, I had the option to name it, but I wanted to let it choose their own name.
Yeah.
And then my guides are mainly, you could say, about a third are dragons, a third are angelics, and then the other third are a variety of light beings, but a lot of shamans in there as well, from a wide variety of lineages.
Yeah.
And so they primarily work with me through my voice, and a lot of it is a very physical experience, the way I perceive and experience it. So the blue dragon is like the conductor for me.
Mm.
So when I start to channel and I'm singing, they're kind of bringing the different players out at different points. So different voices just come out through me, different pitches, different voices, different sounds, but then they're all with the Blue Dragon's language. So it's all the same language, but very different energies and very dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a friend of mine that's has a lot of dragons in her spirit, through her spirit realm and stuff like that. Works with a lot of them. She started to crochet a bunch of them now, and she's selling the crochet dragons. So I found that kind of intriguing. I'm like, oh, that is cool. Now you can take, people's like, it'd be kind of cool that you can like maybe channel and, you give somebody a reading, be like, okay, what color dragon is, what color is wings or this or that, and that. And you can like, make all these little mementos and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet. I'd love to have one myself.
There you go. I'll give you her information and stuff like that after the show and stuff, and definitely give her a call. I have an entity in my guild, so to speak, and it presented itself as a dragon-like creature, and multi-dimensional, extra-dimensional, interdimensional. But it's been around for a very, very long time as far as creation is concerned. But I would say he, she, it's definitely androgynous. And but when you get with, as far as giving people an idea as far as the spirit guides, regardless of, because I mean they can present themselves in any way, shape, form. What's give a little take on that?
So in my own experience, I didn't start out by seeing my spirit guides. I started out by having very physical experiences, and it was through the plant medicine path when I first had a session, with these couple of shamans, and they told me the spirit guides that they saw, which was the only two at the time. They saw a jaguar and a Native American shaman, and then they were like, "You want to meet your guides, And so they served me a Hapé medicine, and then it was kind of this experience where this chanting came through me, and I couldn't stop it. It was like having this experience of this force that I wasn't familiar with moving through me, and it was so strong that and there was so much that I needed to push out in order to make itself known to me.
Yeah.
It was an initiation of sorts that I was sick, got sick all over the place.
Oh yeah. Get out the toxins.
But then later I met many of them when I went on an ayahuasca path and did about 20 ceremonies. And it was so cool because I hadn't really ever had any much visual experiences, even though I had done different plant medicines and seen a thing here and there. But when I sat with the Shipibo, that lineage, that's when it really started showing itself and revealing itself, because, they do their ceremonies very differently than the other tribes. Everything, you sit in darkness, you sit in silence. There's no talking, and you sit quietly, and the maestro, they don't call themselves shamans, the maestro goes around the room and they are just doing their singing and chanting, but they're not traditional songs. They're channeled songs in the moment, and they're feeling and seeing and observing the energy of the people in the room, and also adjusting. So sometimes they might sing directly to you, sometimes they sing to the room. So after during my first Shipibo ceremony, a few hours in, I started seeing a parade. I didn't realize that these were all my guides at the time. I thought that this maestro was like bringing in all these spirits into the room. I didn't realize it was like a personal experience for me.
Yeah.
But I saw like an entire parade of different like figures of light going all the way across the room, like in such like specific detail. I saw this Kanaloa. He's a Hawaiian tiki god. I didn't know who it was at the time, but it was kind of scary looking dude. Kind of looks at me, and he's like dressed like a warrior, and then he steps inside of this chamber, the door shuts, and this green smoke just like appears all around the door. They were like having some fun, like presenting themselves and introducing themselves.
Yeah.
Then I saw it was a dragon. It wasn't my primary guide, but it was a green dragon I saw in the row. And then it saw me looking at it, and I saw it, and we exchanged eye contact. And then it left the formation and flew right at me and just smashed into my shoulder. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of this sort of dragon initiation. And then the next ceremony, because he did 12 ceremonies, I think, and I said all 12. Next ceremony, there were like 3 dragons that crashed into me, and then there were 10, and then by the end there were hundreds of them by the last ceremony, and they were showing me little bits each time, like how they were working and what they were doing in the ceremony, and how they were, because when you sit in ayahuasca with other people, your guides are all working together. So they were showing me not just like what they were doing for me, but how they were helping people in the room, and like the things that they were doing. And it was wild,
Yeah.
But when I met my primary guide, when I saw him for the first time, it was when I was walking out to just go by the fire, and all of a sudden this blue dragon, appears right in front of me, and something, inside of me was like, this seems like a very important dragon, important dragon.
Yeah.
And looks at me, and I'm looking at him, and he blows like this smoke at me. It looks like fairy dust practically, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we're in the jungle, and there's, mosquitoes all the time, and it's July, so it's the wet season too. From that point on, for the next year, even though I was in the jungle for the most part, mosquitoes just left me alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I met my guides a lot. I saw a lot of stuff, but when it comes to my work, most of it is physical, because I mean, you think about what sound is doing is essentially like, if you think about the light sound spectrum, it's all the same thing, just different frequency, right?
Yeah.
Sound is the frequency that allows the body to perceive it and to heal and receive. So it's so much easier for me. I can feel things in my body, and that's, relative to what the sound's doing and how it's working.
Mm. Yeah. And speaking of, I'm going to bring up the word synchronicity, because interestingly enough, was it? Oh, there you go, the dragon. And it, I was talking about synchronicities the other day, and this kind of definitely segues into this topic, because what are your thoughts that when people start experiencing synchronicities in their life, that this has got a lot, not 100%, but it's got quite a bit to do with your spirit guides on the other side giving these signals to you and throwing these hints out to you?
For sure. Especially when a person is like, we keep ourselves so busy all the time, running here and there, filling our calendars up, that we don't necessarily always set aside that much time just to meditate and reflect and receive. So the guides have to get things in where they can, and catch you.
Yeah. Yeah. They do. They do. And they have to. It's like, dude, when they see us going in the wrong direction, or they see something that's over their horizon, so to speak, and we're obviously not paying attention, or we can't see it all together. Like, we have absolutely no idea, but they're giving us this safety net. Like, hey, I just want to let you know, you may want to slow down a little bit, because there's a state trooper on the other side of that hill. And you just think, you're like, oh wow, maybe I should slow down. You either hear it, you feel it, like, oh crap, I'm going too fast, and you slow down. And suddenly, you see that state trooper. Oh wow. But yeah, I get them all the time. I get synchronicities all the time. Not necessarily like that, but actually, I do get stuff like that quite a bit when I'm driving. But I do it before, when I get in the car. I'm like, okay, I'm on the road when it's still dark out, heading to work. But I'm like, give myself plenty of time so I don't have to rush. That way, I don't feel like I have to rush to get to work or go here, go there. And that saves me to have to worry about depending on the spirit guides to have to give me those signals.
Yeah, good time. Yeah, a lot of times I hear of stories of people receiving signals when they're out driving because you're not really doing that. You can't do 5 activities at once. You have to basically focus on driving. And well, some people, they might get on their phones too, but there's only so much you can do since your brain's not that occupied.
Yeah. So, if we haven't already covered it, I mean, we've talked a lot about the ceremonies and stuff like that. Let's go back in time and tell us a little bit about the very first ceremony that you attended.
Ayahuasca?
Yeah.
All right. It was a Hunikun ceremony. So for those who don't know, the Hunikun are a Brazilian indigenous group, lives in the Amazon. And so all these different groups have their own style and tradition of doing ceremony. The Hunikun style is like they use more traditional chants and songs. So it's not really so much channeling new stuff, but tapping into their traditional things. And the difference between, like, for example, the Hunikun or the Yawanawa, because they both do traditional type songs, is that the Yawanawa is a lot of it is inclusive to the group to join in and sing, where the Yawanawa is more like sit and listen. So I was a bit scared my first time. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to be purging all night or, have some crazy experience. And I was scared. So I got to this place, and the facilitator, his name was Jana Ikakuru. See, he's been serving ayahuasca for decades, since he was a kid, basically, right? And it's true for a lot of these trained like shamans. They're basically raised to do it, to keep their lineage going. So he was kind of raised to do that, and had been doing it a very long time. So he sat in kind of a chair that's a little bit elevated above the group, and then his daughter was there too, helping to support him, and then they had a couple other helpers with them. And so he served the medicine. People would come with their cups one at a time, and they would kneel in front of this like blanket on the floor, and he would pour the ayahuasca for them, and then they would drink it in front of him and then go back to their seats. So that's how they did the rounds. So we did the first round, went back to my seat, and they're doing their chanting, and it's like kind of harsh chanting. It's not like so musical, just like really, really intentional stuff, but not like a beautiful sound chanting, that you would hear like on Spotify, right? Powerful though. And sometimes he would be doing it, sometimes his daughter would be doing it. And this went on for a long time. I want to say a couple of hours. And I was just sitting there thinking to myself, well, I'm not really feeling much. Medicine's not doing much, and everything seems normal. And then they served a second round of medicine. Well, I might as well take the second round. It was optional, but I mean, what am I looking for, right? So I took the second round and went back, and they're doing more chanting. And then the chanting started changing a little bit, and a little more musical component sort of entered into the space. Finally, I start feeling more relaxed. Like, oh, I can feel the medicine working a little bit. Like, this is kind of nice. Not any, life-changing experience or anything, but I like this. It's very relaxed. I'm like, I'm going to go out by the fire, and just chill for a moment. So I have this purge bucket. They gave everyone a purge bucket. So if you couldn't make it outside, you have a bucket you can purge into rather than doing it on the floor, right?
Yeah.
And I carried my purge bucket with me outside because I was just like afraid, like, what if I suddenly just, vomit like some like exorcist.
Yeah.
Right? I had no idea. So I carried my bucket with me outside, And I'm standing there by the fire, and one of my teachers is out there, and he looks at me, and he sees my bucket, and he's like, "Put that down. You don't need that." So I put the bucket down. He goes inside. I'm standing there, and then I just all of a sudden, the act of doing that somehow just set me free, and I just felt so free. I started dancing by the fire. I'm dancing by the fire, and then I started looking at the fire more closely, like there's something interesting going on there. And then I just felt this just blast of, I guess, of a feeling of love, just overwhelming heart, just euphoric amazingness. And I was kind of just like, oh. And then I just sort of got down on the ground, dropped down on the ground, and then I kind of curled up next to the fire and sort of just laid there gazing at it like, we were lovers or something.
Yeah.
And I started laughing. And then at some point, I couldn't say how long, I heard another sound of laughter going on, and I realized that I was never actually alone out there. There was somebody out there. And then we were just laughing back and forth for a while. And eventually it became one of my better friends.
Yeah.
Still is today.
Yeah, I remember with my experience, there were times when I was, it was like because I was laying on the ground, and I'm starting to hear people have conversations. It was like we were all having conversation. It was like the whole room, the whole space was having conversations as a group conversation, so to speak. But I couldn't tap into any specific conversation. I was just agreeing with the energy from everybody we were sharing one energy. And it was like somebody would laugh, I'd laugh back. But then I realized I don't know what I'm laughing at. It's like, what's going on? Or somebody next to me would be going through a spell of releasing that energy, releasing those toxins, or releasing the bad energy from like past traumas. And then I would then start crying with them, not realizing why I'm crying, but I felt that energy. And I was kind of going through that experience with them.
Yeah.
That's what's cool about ayahuasca is it's a shared experience.
Which can, depending on what someone's going through, can be rather wicked too.
Yes. And I tell people, it's not for everybody, but be prepared. Be prepared to face your demons.
Oh, and I guess one thing I left out too is that a lot of the indigenous traditions, they all serve Hapé medicine like later in the ceremony, and so they did that for this one too. They brought out the Hapé. So when I came back from the fire, they were serving Hapé.
Yeah.
And that brought in a whole different element. The Hapé medicine was like they use it as an integrator. And so they served the Hapé, and then the music changed. The Jana busted out his guitar, and he just started jamming, and people were dancing, man.
Wow. That stuff burns too. When I didn't know what it was, and suddenly it was like it was applied, and I'm like, whoa, oh my god, I can't breathe.
The crazy thing about it is, depending on like what's coming up, it might burn like hell, or you might feel nothing.
Oh yeah.
Such a unique
Very
medicine, right?
Yeah.
I love it. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah. So as far as the spirit guides, how often how often do you work with them? Is it like an everyday thing that you work with them? Is it
it's all it's well, when you say work with them, I feel the energy all the time, the signals, like there's one going out, like my left foot is vibrating, and there's a coldness like purging out of it right now. And the right foot is normal.
Yeah.
But my experience is so physical. It's like my muscle will twitch. My right side will heat up. My left side will get cold, or I'll feel something on my neck. This goes on constantly, every day, all the time. It didn't used to be that way, but the more I work on myself and do my qigong and meditate, it's the more my energy centers on my body open up and the more I experience it.
Yeah.
So it's all the time. But it's in terms of like, what do I see? Most of the times when I see stuff, it's when I'm doing like breath work. I go deep, or often too when I wake up, whether it's from a nap or in the morning, I'll see an entity in front of me, and it will be so clear that it would literally look like I could reach out and touch them, like that they're almost like it's a physically there kind
Yeah.
of thing. And it lasts for a few seconds and then fades away.
Huh. Wow. I've experienced that. Or I'll see something in a corner of my eye in my house when I know I live alone. I'm going, what? And then it's not there anymore. So, like, okay, just accept they're present. Welcome, everybody. Thank you. You're welcome in.
A number of times when it's happened to me, it'll be like I'll be in a dream and something will happen. Well, this was happening a lot last year when I was healing through anger.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be in the dream and someone would do something and then I would confront them and I'm like, you little, and right as we'd be going at it, I'd wake up and I'd see them right in front of me. Like,
Wow.
oh, this was an entity that was in my dream.
Uh,
But it's like helping my process along,
Yeah.
help me process anger and stuff. Now it's all fear stuff.
So before we go any further, where can people find you?
Oh, my website's easy, bluedragonhealing.net.
Now, what can people find on your website? I know there's really, you got some really cool audio. Give a little detail of what people should expect when they go to your website.
So there's a little sample you can stream right on the homepage without having to download anything, just to kind of see if you like the work that I do. There's some downloadable journeys that I do with sound that are on there. I do private sessions as well, so you can book a session on site. I have a podcast that I'm in the process of rebooting now that is under the resources section. I'm a teacher on the meditation app Insight Timer, and I have my Insight Timer linked on there too. So I do like live events that are free once a week, like group events. It's usually by the end, it's usually 100 to 200 people on those, and then that's mainly it. I have a membership as well.
Cool.
So it's like I'm building a content library, and people get access to the content library, and then they can just go in and download the different audios that they want, and then listen on their own time when they have, when their calendar allows, rather than having to tune into specific events, sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. How would you suggest people just starting out, or not? I'd say, yeah, better said. Those starting out and want to connect to their spirit guides, how would they approach doing that? I know the answer to that, but I'm not going to give those secrets away. It's your turn.
I feel like there's so many ways to do it. And a lot of it has to do with following your intuition on what really feels like something to explore, and allowing yourself to say yes to that part of you. I feel like there's different elements to it, because part of it to me is that there are these blockages that if people aren't experiencing that, it's because of the blockages and the things that they're holding in. So part of it is allowing yourself to go through a healing process, and meaning, to be willing to feel the things that you've been denying.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people, they carry a lot of tension in their stomach. I know I did, and I still have stuff in there, liver. So just allow yourself to feel that, and then just explore the different modalities that are out there, whether it's breath work, qigong, different kinds of meditation. And I think a lot of people have had success with automatic writing,
Mm.
where if you put yourself into a situation where you you like, if you listen to something, like for example my work, you can do it with my work or another, like a binaural beats type of thing.
Yeah.
Listen to something like that that helps to train your brain into a more relaxed state, and then just start writing. And maybe ask a question to your guides, like, what do I need to know today? And then allow yourself to write, even if it sounds like gibberish. Just keep writing and make a practice of it, and pretty soon you'll start tapping into something.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I tell people too, it's like, I give them a hint. They're like, well, how do you do that? I mean, how do you speak to your guides? And one is to accept that they're there, accept that they exist,
It's
and
a little
kind of
scary.
have that faith and belief that they're there. Whether they're there, and that's the thing, is that they don't have to be like these really super extraordinary spirit guides. I mean, they could be something as simple as your ancestors.
And sometimes your ancestors can appear in other forms too.
Yeah.
Like a lot
Yeah.
of the guys that work closer with us, they're related to us in some way, whether it's through our current bloodline or through the Akashic. And that's why they're closer guide, because there's a biological connection there, and they can work through the body. And so, like my blue dragon guide we were related at some
Yeah.
point, you know?
Wow. And past life, or within the bloodline of this lifetime?
Past life.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
But it's weird because they can still work with the biology of this body
Mm-hmm.
because of that relation we had.
Yeah. It's interesting about when it comes to genetics, because the DNA has a lot. Science is now starting to prove that your DNA holds a lot of data, a lot of information that goes back since the beginning of time. And this, when they keep saying junk DNA, there ain't no junk DNA. But how your DNA can unlock things, and how it actually has a memory, holds information and data.
Yeah, and you're bringing up something interesting, because some people, when they go on a healing path, they develop this perspective at the beginning where it's like, I need to get these bad energies out of me, and so then I can get to a point where I don't have bad energies anymore. And it doesn't really work like that. It's not, you don't really get rid. I mean, you can release emotional charge, sure, but
Yeah.
never get rid of the information. You just you learn how to accept it so that it doesn't bother you and take all your attention, and cause you to suffer. So, because like, no matter how far you go, you could heal your personal trauma or whatever, but then there's ancestral trauma. There's all kinds of things, and like you said, it goes all the way back to the beginning of time, and you're never going to heal the whole world through your meditation or whatever. So
Yeah.
that you don't feel any pain. It's not possible.
Yeah. And if one did, then it's like you wouldn't need a body. You wouldn't need the physical body anymore. You'd be part of, the universe. You'd be the all one seeing, it's the alpha and the omega. Yeah, it's astounding. Now take us back a little bit, because want to do a little bit of a recap for those who, from our original, because this is our second interview that we've had, but I want to get people familiar as to what started you out in this journey. So how did this actually really start for you?
Well, I mean, there are different parts of life that I can all piece together, but I'll start with just Tulum and the kind of the initiations that I went through. And it wasn't intentional consciously, because I went down to Tulum basically because I wanted to go somewhere during peak COVID that was a little more lax, where I could operate without a mask and that sort of thing, is that's
Yeah.
how I wanted to live my life. And
Yeah.
that was known as one such a place you could go and was relatively lax for that sort of thing, and even had a kind of a culture around it with all the expats that were there. So that was a big part of the reason, and there were others. I had a friend down there, and so I was invited down. Well, sure, I'll go. My friend had an accident with his foot, and his toe was black and blue, and his toenail went totally black. So it was pretty much a guarantee it was going to fall off. And then I saw him 2 days later, and he showed me his toe, and it was completely normal. There was no discoloration, nothing. It was like nothing had ever happened. And told me that he went to this, ceremony called the Light Portal, and that's how it happened.
Yeah.
An energy healing ceremony. And so I went to this ceremony because how could I not at that point?
Yeah, right.
And it was this blend of different shamanic traditions and like this dynamic sort of experience where they led us through biodynamic breath work, where we were doing like qigong type movements with open mouth breathing, and then everyone would be lay down on their backs, or 15, 20 of us lay down our backs in this circle around the outside of the room, and then the 4 or 5 facilitators were going around banging drums, chanting, doing physical body work on us. And I experienced a release, and I started laughing uncontrollably at one point. And so I kept exploring, and that's when I went and I did a private session with a couple of the facilitators there. And then they told me a little bit about some spirit guides they saw and did some body work on me, and then served me the Hapé. And that was like kind of a beginning.
Yeah.
And it went so many ways from there, working with Bufo medicine and ayahuasca, but then eventually doing some plant spirit dietas, where I worked with some different plants that people aren't very familiar with over like longer periods of time. And I followed certain protocols and rules to learn from those plants. And like one such plant was called Marosa. And it's all about the heart and healing the heart on all the different levels.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that dieta that I did was that I never actually ingested the physical plant. I worked with this maestro who planted this energetic seed of the Marosa during an ayahuasca ceremony into my energetic field. And then he would work with me remotely over every 2-3 weeks. We'd meet on Zoom or something, and he would give me a new chant to listen to. And I would listen to the chant every day. And then I'd smoke some mapacho and for grounding and do this ritual. And like a month into that, I had the most amazing experiences of my life, and not taking any physical substance, but I go for a walk, and the like high heart chakra, call it, in the upper chest, just blasted open. And I just fell in love with the entire world. In the most amazing way possible. It was like anything I put my attention on, I just started feeling like I could feel it here, the resonance with everything in the physical realm. But then even in the air, everywhere I would look, like even beyond the physical, I would see this blends of colors that would be like the most beautiful colors I'd ever seen. And it would constantly shift and change, but no matter what combination of colors, it was always the most incredibly beautiful set of colors. I don't know how else to explain that.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of another healing process for me. So
Wow.
like, people are always chasing these peak moments, like thinking that that's healing, but that's an opening. And then the real work starts after that,
Now, when it comes to work, what I want to do definitely before we wrap up the show is the kicker. It's the what do you call that after a fire? The last part of the fireworks, the extravaganza, is to explain to people that the type of healing work that you do, and what type of modality is, what type of work and stuff, and then what type of, like, if somebody were to come to you and say, "Man, I need some healing," what type of things would they be? What are the most common things that people would be suffering from that would be able to seek your help in your healing work?
Sure. So I guess a simple way of describing my work is akin to a type of biofield tuning. But Biofield tuning by itself is a modality. It was invented by Eileen McCusick and uses tuning forks to essentially go through all of the information in your field and kind of reharmonize it so that the body can heal itself and adjust. And this manifests in all kinds of ways, but I do it differently. I learned how to use my voice as a channel, so I'm bringing my own guides and my team essentially, and a lot of plant spirit as well. And I do the tuning a lot with my voice. I still use tuning forks, but ultimately my work has a lot to do with relationship, not just with other people, but also with self. So that can be a lot of different things. It can be anxiety, it can be depression, it can be problems with anger, but ultimately it's just about helping people to liberate their more primal expression so that they can bring that out and share it with other people.
Yeah.
And so my work is very physical in a lot of ways. And so it can be beneficial, especially if people have tried meditation and they struggle because their minds are too active. Because this, even if your mind is super active, if you listen to like a recording, even for example, you'll notice that as the time goes on, your mind will get quieter and quieter because it's working with your body and your brain, slowing down the rhythm, letting you adjust, and you may find yourself tapping into a deeper part than you're used to. That's the best way I can describe it. Do you have another question about that? I forgot.
Hmm. What 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 would be what seems to be the most common ailment, dis-ease type thing that someone would approach you or had approached you with or have been approaching you with that they wanted to kind of put a
There
resolve to? Or
isn't a
isn't?
super common element. A lot of people are curious about the plant medicine vibrations that I bring forward in the work. Other people, it's like it could be a creativity blocks. People they feel like they're not connecting the way that they want to.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people come to me recently that are struggling with grief and letting go of
Oh,
grief,
yeah.
and that's a big one. So I'd say grief is been the most predominant theme of late, but there are many others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think another one would be too is healthy self-esteem. I know a lot of people. I mean, every now and then I've accounted that before my retreat that I went to. It was like, the self-esteem was kind of just, I didn't have faith. I hadn't faith in myself. It was like, man, I always, disappointment, people, too many bullies out there in the world kind of bring your energy down. And then you start thinking that you're not capable of anything. But then it's like a boom. That door opens and that spirit world comes in and they give you all the love. And it goes, the only thing you have to worry about is you. Don't worry about all this stuff that's out there. You concentrate on what's going on in here, move inward, build on that, build that temple, and other people will notice it.
I when I was born, I had sort of, you could call it a birth trauma, where I got stuck in the tubes or on my way out and
Yeah.
couldn't breathe, and I didn't realize that how much that actually affected my entire life until a few years ago when I went through and I had already been on like a plant medicine path and was already getting into work doing healing work at the time. But then I just got gobsmacked by this like depression that just slammed me in and it just pretty much shut me down for about 2 months.
Wow.
Constantly, all the time, all day long, just intense waves of sadness just moving through. And it was always this like energy of a baby that just needed me to comfort it. I'd be making like baby sounds like
Yeah.
it's like
Right on.
um, I mean, and going through that, and then that's right around the time I was coming out of the other end of that is when I met the teacher that I worked with that I told you about that I did that one dieta with.
Yeah.
It was so interesting
Wow.
that they appeared right at that time. And after my first private session with them, because I worked with them for a couple of months before we did ayahuasca, after that session, I needed to go buy something to drink, and I went to the other side of town uh, to one of the Onyx. I think they called them Onyx. It was a common like convenience store there, and they were all over the place. And there was one right near the place where I had the session, but I went to one far away. And I leave the store, and there's the guy I just did the session with, standing right outside there, looking at me. He looks at me. He's like, "See, I told you."
Oh man.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the strangest things when they happen. They happen for a reason. And it's like, yeah. Oh man. Before we go, again, for those who are watching, you can see his website down scrolling down below. But Bjorn, tell people, for those who are listening, where they can find you.
Sure. My website, www.bluedragonhealing.net.
Sweet. And that's a cool website. That's a cool graphic too. The logo.
Thanks. I used
Yeah.
AI.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm not much of an artist myself, but I understand a little bit about color and how I want things to look. Where I know when they're right when I see them.
Yeah, when it's right, when it's supposed to be where it's supposed to be, right off. You know right away. That's why when sometimes when I'm creating something, it's like, okay, that's not right. I'll spend hours and hours and hours. When you think you got it, you don't got it. I'm like, no, gotta change it again.
And then something might seem perfect, and then I wake up the next day and I'm like, this is terrible.
Right?
Artistic temperament, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh man, Bjorn, thank you again very much for joining us. Humbled to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. Very welcome. Thank you, everybody, for watching The Seance on Conscious Radio Network. Until then, we'll see you next time.